Okay, hey everyone. I'm Rooz, Nelson, here from Gradle. I want to talk about improving developer experience with build scans today. Okay, who is this talk for? Developers who've never heard of a build scan before, maybe you looked at a build scan a few times, you're frustrated with build CI failures, so you're spending a lot of time on that, you're frustrated with slow builds. That's some of the stuff we're going to cover today. First off, who has created a build scan and viewed it? Okay, all right, okay, all right. Quick on the agenda, we're talking about Gradle build scans. It's a free UI service. Anybody can use it. We're not talking about Gradle Enterprise today, but if you have it, there's some other stuff you can do with it. Anybody have Gradle Enterprise here? Raise your hands. Anybody have Gradle Enterprise? Okay. All right, we got some folks. So we're going to do a quick, what are Gradle build scans, and then we're going to do some demos. We're going to do some live demos mostly for you guys on troubleshooting and investigating slow builds, and then Nelson's going to talk about the cool new stuff in artifact transforms, and then follow-up docs, free training, anything you need. Okay. So troubleshooting in general is something that a lot of folks really disregard. Hey, it's part of life. You got to troubleshoot, build, and test failures. But you end up with this like back and forth of questions of, I remember when I first joined Gradle for us, we were troubleshooting our own build issue before we had Gradle Enterprise and build scans. So we've developed build scans just for that use case. Because I remember it was the first day, like, hey, my build failed. Well, let's send it to Adam. He's the Gradle guru at the time, right? This is like 10 years ago. It's like, send it to Adam. He's like, well, send me the stack trace. Okay, I still can't figure it out. Send me the log files. Okay, still can't figure it out. Okay, send me the test reports. Well, I can't just email it to you. That's a security risk. So let me upload it to Dropbox, send you a link, and then we're like, hey, let's build something where you have everything that you need in one place with a few clicks. So when you do get stuck on these type of build test failures, you may be new to Gradle, new to Android, what is this Gradle, what's happening in my Gradle build? That's the kind of stuff we're gonna talk about today, and it's really valuable to have everything in one place. When should I look at a build scan? Well, when you wanna know what's happening in your build. Hey, I'm new to Gradle, what's this Gradle thing? What's happening? It's like some black magic happens. Just click a button, it builds, but then suddenly it fails. What's happening? Why did it fail? Or, hey, I'm looking at CI failures. I'm looking at the console log. I'm like, what's going on? Build scans help that. When your build becomes slow, when you need to collaborate with a colleague, hey, Mike on the team, he's my build expert. Where I have this thing. How do I share and collaborate it with him? Viewing my dependencies, plugins, hey, am I using all the features of the Gradle build tool? What's this daemon thing that's in there? Is build cache turned on? Stuff like that. Build scan fact. So, Nelson, what is a build scan? How does it work?
What is the build scan? Well, like you said, it's a tool used to troubleshoot your Gradle build. It has all the information that happened during that build. And another reason that it's so useful is you don't have to replay the build in order to debug it, right? You have this like black box that has everything that happened in the build, and you can link to it.
Is it safe? Is it secure? What happens? What happens when a build scan? When I run a build with a build scan, what happens?
So it takes all the information and it uploads it to a server. If you're using the free build scan service that's hosted by us, so you're sending all your console logs, as well as some environment variables to our server. And you have to accept the terms of service to do that. We also have an enterprise product where you keep all the information on your own premise, so you don't send any data to us. Yeah.
And it's pretty safe and secure. You have this unique URL. Not everybody has access to it unless you want to share and collaborate it. And if you have some sensitive stuff in there, you can easily delete your build scan. It wipes all the data off of our database. I've worked with certain organizations before. It's like, hey, I want to just analyze this, and I get it approved by security that, hey, I'm just going to use this for analysis. I'm going to wipe the data off. So you could do that. Nelson, does it send the logs by default?
Yes, so all the logs are uploaded by default. You can also disable this if you want. It obviously reduces the usefulness of it because then you can't link to lines in the console log. You can also, for example, anonymize a lot of the data in the build scans. You can anonymize your username, your IP address, all that stuff. But of course, it diminishes the value of it because if you don't know whose build scan it was, then, well, was it my build that failed? Was it your build? Who knows?
Right. Pro tip here, if you don't have Gradle Enterprise, you can turn on always publish of build scans. And we'll upload all these slides so you can kind of get these links if you didn't get a chance to catch it. Getting started with build scans, it works for Gradle, Maven, now SBT, we need to update this slide, and Bazel build scans is coming soon. Scans.gradle.com, super easy, Google it, easy. Okay. You can also do some other cool stuff with build scans. I've seen folks capture UI instrumented test reports. How does that work, Nelson? Quick overview.
Yeah, so you can upload all your instrumentation test reports to build scans. They're not there by default, but if you're interested in this, get in contact with us. It's like a 1 or 2 line thing you add to your build script. And then once you upload that, as Android developers, we know our most flaky tests are those instrumented tests. So then you can see your flaky test insights in the Gradle Enterprise test dashboard. You can see what are your longest tests, what are your most flaky tests. You can filter on them. You can see the logs, all that.
And you can link to Firebase Test Lab or whatever other thing that you want, where if you have to go back in there and get more information. Okay, we're going to do a live demo for you on troubleshooting. Let me, which one is it, Nelson? Is it this guy?
Maybe, yeah. Start there.
I think it's,
Spring Boot, yeah.
So here is one build. Can everybody see this? Let me expand this guy here.
Yeah.
Let's make it a little bit bigger. Let's do, okay, perfect. So this is a build scan. At the top, you have some simple tags-related stuff. This Spring Boot, we give Gradle Enterprise for free to open source projects for demo purposes. This is an actual Spring Boot build scan. And it's running a system test, and it's a CI, usually JDK7, Linux main. These are these tags that you can add. It gives you the quick, which version of Gradle am I using, Android Gradle plugin, you have all that. And then you have some tabs on the left here. You can look at the console log, and we pull out details pertaining to the failure out of the console log to kind of put that in front of you. You get the failure report. And you can easily look at some of these. When I highlight this line, it changes the URL. So I can Slack this to a colleague and say, hey, Mike. I'm using Mike's name because Mike Mohazzabi, he's a Gradle build guru here, somewhere around here. I don't see him here. But hey, look at this line. This thing failed. Can you help me? I'm new to Gradle. I just joined the team. What's happening here? You have that. Deprecations is pretty cool because sometimes you might be on an older version of Gradle, what's being deprecated or not. One click away. Timeline view, one of my favorites. What's happening in my build. Shows you everything that's happening in a nice timeline view, all the tasks that are running. Performance, we're going to do a deep dive into performance. My test reports. We're going to do a deep dive into that in a minute as well. Projects, how many modules do I have? What's doing what? This is like a really nice way to kind of look at these, and you can copy this line and send it to a colleague. Dependencies, this is super cool because we spend a lot of time trying to figure out what's happening where and which version of this am I using. There was this whole log4j thing was happening. So hey, which version of log4j am I using? Boom, in a few clicks, I have it. I can view transitive dependencies here, the required by, the details, all this stuff being a few clicks away makes it super easy for me to investigate build issues. Because as an application developer, maybe some of you here are responsible for the builds. You live in this all the time. You hang out here all the time. You're looking at this all the time. But regular application developers, they don't care. They just want the build to work. Hey, I click on Gradle, this thing should work. but sometimes it doesn't or it fails. Now I got to stop what I'm doing or I got to take a Gradle. Do I have to take a Gradle training class to get all this stuff? So now this UI kind of helps you navigate those. Build dependencies, Nelson, difference between dependencies and build dependencies?
Yeah, so the pages look very similar. The difference is the dependencies are the dependencies that are used in your application itself, so that is your Android app. The build dependencies are the dependencies used for your Gradle build. In the same way that you can pull in any library into your Android app, you can also pull in any library into your build scripts and use that. And that will also include Gradle plugins that are applied to your build, such as, for example, this Java format Gradle plugin that's being highlighted right there. But it works the same way.
And then you have your plugins. Are we using any custom plugins? How long do these take? Stuff like that. You have all that internal, external plugins. Custom values, any key value pairs that you want to get out. This is more of for the Gradle Enterprise folks, so you can show me all the builds on this git commit ID, stuff like that, right? For a single build scan user, may or may not make sense. Switches, hey, what's the build cache? We're going to get into that one, right? Do I have parallel enabled? And all these, what's dry run? What's daemon? What's continuous mode? Configuration on? All these go to docs to help you. Well, how do I set up configuration on demand? There's a nice doc for that. It's one click away. It's become super helpful. And of course, infrastructure and whatnot. Anything you want to add on the switches?
But speaking of docs, most of the pages here are documented quite well. So for example, there's the question mark at the top left with documentation, training in the blog. But also, if you're on specific pages and you're not sure, okay, what does this mean? There's a sidebar here that will help you understand what does total tasks mean? There's also popovers. And then it also links directly into our documentation. So if you're not so familiar with different pieces of the build scan and I'm not standing in front of you, you can, of course, read the docs to find out what's happening.
Very cool. And then last but not least, infrastructure. And you get this all the time. Remember trying to troubleshoot this CI failure, and it was like different JDK versions. Such a simple thing, but you forgot to mention that you were using JDK X versus Y, and the whole time we're trying to find out this failure through the logs and stuff like that, and this is like a few clicks away. How many cores am I using? Am I fully taking advantage of this? This build is running on a 32-core machine, but it's only using max 4 workers. There might be a reason for that. You could get more out of that if you wanted to, especially with the number of modules this guy has. Yeah, 187 modules. So yeah, it could potentially benefit from that. That's the quick review. This before and after. This is a Gradle Enterprise thing where you can compare build scans. We're not going to get to that because we're only talking about the free stuff that you guys can use without paying for anything. So Nelson, when you were at SoundCloud, you used Gradle Enterprise and build scans. What was one of your favorite use cases for build scans, for troubleshooting?
Yeah, for troubleshooting. Well, first off, being able to share build scan links is the most powerful thing there. Like you were just mentioned the JDK use case, sometimes a build fails on one developer's machine and succeeds on the other. And then being able to look at what is different about that, like as you mentioned before, you can play this game of 20 questions, but if you had the information there that shows you that one developer is using JDK 17 and the other one is using JDK 11, and one developer's build is failing because of that, and they didn't know that, it would take you probably a lot of question asking to figure out what was happening. So yeah, sharing build scan links, anytime a build failure happens, the first question is always, what's the build scan link? Otherwise, there'd be the 20 question game.
Or you'd have to, one of our favorites and a lot of favorites from our folks and folks at Gradle is CI build fails. I'm looking at the CI console log. I go to the build scan from my CI build, boom. We take all the details pertaining to the failure out of the console log so you don't have to go through this whole hundreds of lines of logs to find out things that you need to find. And then you can go to, and of course, like you're sharing the links, as Nelson said, you see the URL changes there. I could go to the failure report Failure history is a Gradle enterprise thing where you have it shows, hey, everybody else had this failure. We're not going to get into that. But if you single build scan, you wouldn't get that. I go to the test report and show me my failed tests. And you get this nice test report here where you can share and collaborate with your colleagues and really find out kind of what's happening in this test here.
Yeah, and it's really powerful because you can actually go to the failed test and see the logs for that test, which, if you didn't have this, it'd be really hard to find what happened.
Anything you want to add on the troubleshooting part?
No. Well, the other thing is sometimes it really makes troubleshooting CI failures much easier because you don't have to go to 10 different places. Okay, go to the CI, look at the console log. Okay, go from the CI report to that JUnit XML report, look through the JUnit XML logs. It's all in one place. And speaking of the CI use case, you can also create custom links in your build scans. Now, the Spring team doesn't have it, but you could create a link from your build scan to your CI build, and from your CI build to your build scan. That way you can navigate troubleshooting much easier.
To Git source.
Yeah, and to the sources.
Oh, we don't have that. We have a dirty tag where you connect to Git, and if there was a change and it caused a fail, well, there's been pre-commit changes, right? When we have new folks joining the team, we have a dirty tag. Hey, I didn't change anything, the build failed. Well, there's this dirty tag on there, which means there were pre-commit changes, and it kind of helps developers get context around what's happening. Apollo Kotlin is on Gradle Enterprise, and they had this really nice blog post on some of their use cases. Many of you might know Martin Bonin. He's pretty active in the Android community. In his blog post, he's like, collaboration is much easier. That's like one of their favorite use cases out of this is what we just showed today, where you can highlight this line in the logs, pass it from person to person, and especially because he's the build person on the team, folks are asking him questions all the time. Now by sharing that, it decreases that feedback loop. Because a lot of times the person that's helping you out on the build team, that person can get a lot of questions, especially during if there's a crazy release or something happening. And they're gonna get burned out going with this back and forth of questions, right? So this really helps them, get that done. You wanna talk about this one?
Yeah, so we collaborate closely with a lot of our open source partners. Like we mentioned Android X before, the Spring team, also Apollo team is one of our open source partners. And we are hosting Gradle Enterprise instances for them. And for Apollo, we help them optimize their build. And as part of that, me, Tyler, worked very closely with Martin. And we found an issue where there was a remote cache miss caused by a test input having absolute paths. And so he filed this bug on GitHub, and in that bug, he added a build scan link. And what's great is when you click that build scan link, anyone on GitHub can see that task, in this case, this cache miss, and what the differences were to that task. So I don't think I included the link, but when you click that build scan link, yeah, that's my next slide, it would show you this page. It looks like this, and it tells you, okay, the system properties that were added to this test task were different. And then with that, you can come up with a solution.
Another quote from Armis on Android X team. His favorite use case is CI is a black box, just going from, they're using GitHub Actions, going from those logs to the build scan to find out that failure detail. That was the example we showed earlier. That's like one of his favorite things.
Yeah, and one of the other things about that is the console log is filterable by task, which you don't have on CI or other. You're just scrolling through this huge list. So you can search by task name or task type.
Now let's look at build performance issues with build scans. Quickly talk about build caching. It's one of the lowest hanging fruits when it comes to productivity. It's not enabled by default. So you definitely want to check this. You can check it in your build scan. You go to the switches, is my build cache on or not, and we'll show it in the performance.
Did we want to do the demo on that one?
Oh, we will.
Okay.
What is a build cache? You want to talk about how build caching works with inputs and outputs, Nelson?
Yeah, so any task in Gradle can be cacheable. And the way it works is any task has inputs and outputs. When the inputs are the same, instead of rerunning the task, you can fetch it from the build cache. And the way that the inputs are matched is using a cache key, which is a hash of the set of inputs to that task. And so it'll just go to the build cache. It'll say, do you have this hash? And then it'll give you the output, which is a zipped version of the outputs of that task. And then it just unzips it into the output directory.
And Gradle has many different types of caches. So I want to just take a moment to explain. It actually has like 5, 6 types of caches. You have the incremental build cache. You have a local build cache. You have your dependency cache. You have the remote cache. And now you have the configuration cache. A lot of caches. What's going on? So local cache is a great, so how local cache, the difference between local cache, incremental build cache is, we developed this in 2017. When you change branches or projects, your incremental build cache gets wiped out. So you want to have the local cache enabled to kind of save that. Now, a remote build cache is the same idea of the local build cache, but it's sitting on a server somewhere. So you can use Gradle Enterprise or build your own cache backend. So you have CI is just cranking away. It's seeding the remote build cache. It also pulls from it. And a lot of times there hasn't been that many code changes because CI is just cranking away. I know some folks here that are these larger projects doing 40,000, 50,000 CI builds per week. You get a lot of speed up from this remote cache. But it can also help your local builds. Developer comes in, first assemble debug of the day, my incremental build cache is empty, my local build cache is empty. Guess what? CI has been cranking away. Let me pull it from the remote build cache, and then it populates my local build cache, so consecutive builds get faster. This thing becomes super powerful. Who doesn't have the local build cache enabled by default? Anybody? Who doesn't know? Doesn't know or doesn't have? Okay, doesn't know, doesn't have. Okay, we got a few, okay. What about the remote build cache? Who is using the remote build cache for their projects today? All right, yeah, it's like, 40%, not bad, all right. We're going to show this next demo. It's the Gradle Enterprise instance for Android X. That's it's Compose and what's an Android X again?
Yeah, the Android X set of libraries. So all those libraries that you know and love, whether it's Room, whether it's Compose, all those things. So their team has a Gradle Enterprise instance that we host for them. And you can access it on that URL. So just go on your computer if you want to look at it, ge.androidx.dev. You can see all the builds that their entire team is doing, all their local builds, all their CI builds. It's all available on their website.
So this is a build performance example. So I run my build, assemble, debug, usually takes 5 minutes. Now it's 10 minutes. Okay, I'm going to run it clean. Okay, it's still 10 minutes. What the hell is going on? First place, Nelson does it a different way. I usually start with the performance tab. I think you go to timeline first, right? That's your...
Depends what the issue is. You can start many different places.
So you have this nice performance tab, and you have all these other tabs on here. So it just gives you initially like, hey, my build time for this one was 39 minutes, 2 minutes of configuration time. This is a lot. How many modules does this guy have? Well, 949, okay, yeah, it's a lot of modules, okay, all right. But I can dig deeper into what's happening during configuration time. One of Luke Daly, one of our principal engineers, his favorite thing is we do a lot of custom plugins at Gradle. He likes to see, hey, this plugin that I developed, what's the build time there? So you got this deep instrumentation of what's happening during configuration time. And usually when you get to, a few hundred modules, this is something that you want to look at, configuration cache. Get on configuration cache earlier the better.
Yeah.
Dependency resolution, how much time is going to dependency resolution? What's happening? I can drill down into these. Network activity, oh, this one, not much happening in network activity. But if you have long dependency download times, you want to kind of look at this network activity. I usually start with the build cache. That's where most of the stuff is kind of happening. I'll start with this overview to just see, well, oh, garbage collection. Whoa, we missed that.
Yeah.
28 minutes. Okay, so one interesting thing here is, especially with modern Gradle, if you're on latest versions of Gradle, 5 to 10%. Once you get over 5, when garbage collection is more than 5% of your total build time, some funky stuff may be happening here, memory leak, stuff like that. So it's a nice way to kind of see, hey, been 28 minutes, somebody should let RMS know about this one. So I'd go to the build cache and say, okay, well, 0% cache hits. Okay, you don't get too many of these. So I would go to task execution to see what's happening. This build is running, is that right? 29,000 tasks? Holy moly. And from cache, 0. So all this stuff is being executed. 1,600 of them are cacheable, and it's 2 hours and 55 minutes of build execution time. It's build execution time because some stuff is running, serial build execution time because some stuff is running in parallel. And then there's some non-cacheable stuff as well. This could be interesting to look at it if you have any React, Yarn, NPM stuff in your build. As Nelson mentioned, you could change the inputs and outputs of those tasks to make them cacheable. We have a slide on that with docs to that. But I want to see right out of the box, hey, this thing is executing a whole bunch of stuff. What's going on? And I can group these by type. And I see this Android lint 2 hour, that's where like the biggest low-hanging fruit is. It sorts it by longest. But I can also click on, hey, let me see it in the timeline view. Let me see what's happening here. And you see these are all the blues are the stuff that's cacheable, but it's been executed. And I can say, show me what's on the critical path. A lot of times, what do I have to fix that's going to get the most build time back? Well, I'd look at this group of folks here.
There's only one on the critical path, that's why. Yeah.
And this thing, duration was 19 minutes, added cache miss. So you get this nice thing of kind of what's happening in my performance. Anything you want to add on performance?
No, yeah, there's so many ways to look at it. So yeah, and the other thing is sometimes in a build you'll have a certain type of task that's causing a big impact on the build. But there can be many different types of tasks in your build that can have a big impact. In this case, even tasks that are up to date here are having 4-minute impact, but that's nothing compared to the 2 hour, 58 minute. So Gradle Enterprise build scans help you prioritize when you are making improvements to your build, where to spend that time. Was there a question there? Well, this explains what does it mean for a task to be on the critical path. Good question. But yeah, the different colors are basically what is highlighted based on the search filter I have applied. So you'll see the blue things change depending on what work units I'm showing. In this case, I'm showing almost all tasks right now. And then if I click on a specific task, it'll also highlight it right there and change the color.
I see 4 shades.
Yes. I don't know the differences to all the shades. It's a good question. Yeah. But yeah, there's many different ways to view build performance issues and build scans, and yeah, we just highlighted a couple. And this was just an example that we found this morning. So when you dig through build scans, you'll find tons and tons of performance issues.
You want to Slack this build scan with the garbage collection to Armis real quick? No,
I think we're going to have to.
I was going to do it right now. No.
I mean, yeah, so lint in Android takes a lot of memory and yeah, often causes...
That would be like the true live demo, right?
Yeah.
Hey, Artemis, I wonder if he replies back. Hello from DroidCon. By the way, fix your 28-minute garbage collection time.
Yeah.
All right, where was I? Okay, so we did this. Artifact transforms. new
Artifact
cool stuff. Why is
transforms.
that important for Android folks? What is
Yes.
it, and why is it important for Android folks?
Great question. So we're going to get into a little bit more of an advanced topic here, but artifact transforms are one of the most requested features from Android developers in build scans, and I'll explain why. And yeah, before I explain why it's important, we need to start with what are artifact transforms? So it's a concept from dependency management in Gradle, and it changes a dependency from an incorrect format to the format that you request. An example, changing a classes jar to a dex file. That's a transformation. And users, that is build authors, don't directly request transformations, but rather Gradle schedules them automatically between units of work. And transforms can depend on other tasks, and they can also depend on transforms, which means you can have a long chain of transformations that are part of your build. And they're now visible in build scans. You have to use Gradle Enterprise 2023.1, the Gradle Enterprise plugin 3.13 or higher, or Gradle Build Tool 8.1 or higher. So what does this look like? On the timeline view, next to tasks, you'll also see transforms. The timeline now shows units of work, not just tasks in the timeline. And then this right here highlighted, that is a transformation. And you can also see how long they took. And then you can click on that transformation to get more details on it. In this case, this transformation transformed an ASM instrumented jar into the Android DeX. And yeah, there's a ton of other details too, but there you see the source and the target of the transformation. At the bottom, you can see the duration in the same way that you would see the duration for a task in your timeline. So yeah, why is it important? This helps you understand transform dependencies, understand gaps that were previously in the timeline, and it helps you understand artifact transform errors. And I'll get into each one of those. So the first one, understanding artifact transform dependencies. You can see, as I mentioned earlier, artifact transforms can depend on other tasks, and they can also depend on other transforms. You can click the predecessors tab in the details of a transformation to see the other transforms and tasks that transformation depended on. In the same way that you would do this for a Gradle task, you would also see other transforms and other tasks that task depended on. The other thing is this helps fill gaps in the timeline. We had a lot of Android users that were complaining, I have all these gaps in my timeline, where's that time going? Well, now you can see this is a timeline filtered by gaps. So in this case, the light blue is what's highlighted based on the filter I applied, and you can see that there's things there. And that would have previously been empty because transformations were not a part of Gradle and build scans. You can also see failed transformations. They look like this. Failed transformations will not necessarily fail your build, but when you look at it, then you can get details in the failures tab. So before you wouldn't have this debugging information. Actually you would, you'd have to really dig through the console log, but now it's available as a first-class citizen in the failures tab of your build scan, which really helps troubleshoot. And you can also search for transform failures in the Gradle Enterprise dashboard in the same way that you would search for other build failures. There's more upcoming work in artifact transforms. So depending on what version of Gradle you have, so in 8.2 and 8.3, you can now understand artifact transform cacheability as well as up-to-date checks. The initial version in 8.1 only showed very basic information and not whether it was cached or coming from the up-to-date check. We're also working on supporting more transform types, such as the Jetifier transform, which is one of the most widely used artifact transformations in Android builds. And yep, that was my last slide.
Nice. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed our clickety-click way to look at your Gradle builds, making it easy. We have this cool Gradle community Slack. Anybody can join. You can contact Nelson and I there. A lot of Gradle folks hang out there and get support on stuff, talk to us, and yeah, Gradle.org, Slack invite. If you want to do some advanced stuff, and like I said, we're going to put these slides up on Twitter, LinkedIn, all this stuff. But debugging build cache misses with task input file capturing. If you want to do more advanced stuff with debugging build cache misses. We have a lot of cool video tutorials on build scans, build scan, bite-sized customer essentials, build validation scripts if you want to do cool stuff with build cache debugging. And we have tons of free training from Gradle Build Tool, Advanced Dependency Management, Build Cache. It's all free, it's all online, virtual, hands-on, instructor-led. Really great trainers there.
Yeah, and I just want to add that Akshay, who's our trainer, he's really great. He just came out with an Android-specific training for build authors.
Yep.
So check it out.
Yep. DPE Summit next week. If anybody's in San Francisco, we have some really cool talks from Android folks, and we're hiring, and that's it. Well, another Slack invite. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.